Hey, everybody, it's your main man, Anthony Brogdon. I got a guy on the channel today. I am super excited. And he is a heavyweight in his own right. People in his community admire him. And he is a business owner. And check this out, my brothers and my sisters, and he'll address this in a moment. But I think I can be certain, you know, everybody gonna say when you say the oldest, well, let's go with that. The oldest Black-owned business in America. On my show, Strong Inspirations. I forgot to tell you who I am. I'm that man, I'm tripping like that. I'm Anthony Brogdon. I'm Anthony Brogdon, an ordinary guy trying to do something extraordinary in preserving our history. And what I do as best I can is let the people do the talking, and I just ask a few questions and I let them roll with it. You at the right place at the right time, my friends. Do this for me, hit the subscribe button. It's free, it don't cost nothing, it don't ask no information. All it let me know is that you're watching and you like me. And I appreciate that because I like you already, because I can feel you. Every now and then I'll get a message from somebody, man, I've been watching the show. I love what you're doing. I say, well, you hit the subscribe button. Some of them say yes, some say no. I'm gonna keep giving it to you from now on. I have found my calling. Hit the like button on this video. You're going to like it. My man got a backdrop, good looking guy. He's rocking and he's rolling and he's on Strong Inspiration. You're going to like this. It's an incredible story. And then hit the notifications bell. Tell for when the videos, a new video come up, you get a ding, a shock, your lights flicker in your house, horns and bells go off to let you know that there's new content. And I'm not gonna put them up on any specific time because my heart hit me and then there it goes. I'm excited about this interview. I'm excited about all of them. I ain't gonna put nobody on top of nobody else, but I'm really excited about this one. Given in line to what he talks about, did you see the one I did with the lady who her family owns a cottage on Martha's Vineyard? That's over 100-some years old? Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the rep of the H.J. Russell Company out of Atlanta? Brother Russell, his father was a plasterer. His father said, hey man, I've taught you all I can. You take it from here. And my man built it to millions in revenue and some of the biggest buildings in Atlanta is under his consult, let's call it. H.J. Russell, look that one up. Did you see the one I did with the two great-granddaughters of the Black guy? He was a slave, but he worked with them metals. When he got his freedom and they had kids, and one of his sons and him started a car manufacturing company called C.H. Patterson, that's his name, out of Greenfield, Ohio. Watch that video. I got him talking about business too on this show. We covered a lot. And so do that, my friends. Couple more things. My man busy, I know he is, so I gotta go fast. Check this out. If y'all don't know, I'm a filmmaker. I did this documentary called Business in the Black, the rise of Black business in America. And check it out. His company is in the film. I'm serious about my game, my brothers and my sisters. And check it out. Did you know that there were slaves who owned businesses and used their profits to buy their freedom? I name them in my movie and more. I took it to a bunch of cities across the country on my own dime, sharing this knowledge. Then I wrote this book, Black Business book, which is very similar to the movie, but more thorough, more facts, more stuff that's gonna blow your mind. about slaves, and I named the names, what they did, how much money they had. And between me and you, my guest, Madam C.J. Walker was not the first wealthy Black woman. I name others in my book. It's not the first wealthy. You might, if you want to say millionaire status, I give you that, but not wealthy, not very wealthy. There were others, and I name them in my book. Get you a copy of that. Go to my website, businessintheblack.net. Now you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. I wish my middle name was Strong. But you can call me Strong if you so like to. I'll be on dinner on time if you call me Strong. And strong in my world stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. He's a strong man coming out of this town. Come on, brother, introduce yourself. Thank you for being on Strong Inspirations.
Well, good afternoon, Anthony. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for the great lead-in. Brian Brooks, president and co-owner of E.E. Ward Moving and Storage.
Whoa, okay, here we go. Are y'all ready, everybody? Cut the music down wherever you are and get ready for this. You are located where?
So we are located in Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Raleigh, North Carolina. But we service throughout the entire country as far as relocation services.
Okay, let's go on a little bit on you. Is this, are you a descendant of the owner, of the founder?
No. So the E.E. Ward was founded by John T. Ward and his son, William S. Ward, in 1881. And my connection to the company, obviously other than owning it, is that Eldon Ward, who was John T. Ward's great-great-grandson, was actually my godfather.
Do you know, I always ask all my guests this a little bit about themselves. Are you from Columbus yourself?
Yes, I am, yes.
Are you in the side of town is Columbus? What's Columbus like? It's got a black side, white side. You know, what's the difference in those two? Just a tad.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Near East side, which is predominantly African American, but you know, Columbus is very diverse over the years. I mean, you know, it's over as far as the greater Columbus area is over 1.5 million people. So I mean, there's a lot of diversity in our suburbs. You know, but obviously we have kind of a center city or an area where there is a concentration of dense housing and things of that nature. But it's you know, it's very, like I said, it's very diverse. A lot of people, a lot of different nationalities spread out throughout a lot of different suburbs, and not just the city itself.
When we talk about back in the day, is there, how did it start in Columbus? Was Columbus right? Was that slavery and racism and he arose through that? I'm talking about he being the founder. Do you know how that might have happened back in the day?
So John T. Ward, he was actually born in Richmond, Virginia, but then he moved to Columbus as a teenager, and you know, in the late 1850s, he had purchased 2 horses and a wagon, and that John T. Ward actually, as far as transportation, he got his start because he was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. So John T. Ward, you know, was very instrumental for a lot of the slaves trying to free to freedom in the North from slavery. And so John T. Ward, you know, he managed about a 20-mile stretch. Records say, you know, anywhere from like a 15 to 20-mile stretch of the Underground Railroad, which went just south of Columbus to just north of Columbus. We call it, you know, basically south of Columbus, which we know here as Circleville area, and it goes up to Worthington. And so John T. Ward, you know, spent many of his time during that, you know, like I said, late 1850s, early 1860s, helping people escape to freedom in the North. Obviously, you know, in 1865, slavery was abolished. You know, obviously, even though everyone wasn't acknowledging it, you know, there still was a need. So he still was transporting people into the late 1860s. But then after that, John T, you know, he had his horses and wagon. And he began, transporting different, grain and commodities and, just odd things for people, being very entrepreneurial, making money using his horses and wagon and transporting items and goods for people. And then at this same time, his son, William S. Ward, was working for another company in town, was actually a moving company. But they came together in 1881 and they decided to start the Ward Transfer Line, their own company, and, began transporting, they received some government contracts and contracts from local stores to deliver furniture and goods. And one of the, in their early stages, though, one of their greatest achievements was that they, through one of the music stores, they were able to earn a contract with Steinway Piano. And throughout the company's history in the early years, they delivered over 900,000 pianos to customers that purchased Steinway pianos.
Let's go back to the beginning in regards to him and his family. Do y'all know about his father or something like that? What was his scenario?
The records are a little, I don't have all that information.
Yeah, but then John T, he's born free. He comes to Columbus. Why Columbus?
It has said, again, when you're dealing with stories that are over 140, 150 years old, you're relying on what's been written down over the years.
Sure.
But basically, it was just noted that he actually came there as a teenager. So he moved there as a young man looking for opportunity because there was more opportunity from what he was aware of in further north.
Okay. And when you say he on the Underground Railroad as a conductor, wasn't that kind of scary because the slave catchers was coming up? They knew who was helping the people. He himself faced something that could have happened to him. Isn't that normally the case in that regard?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because it wasn't only, there were white and black people helping people, on the Underground Railroad. And yes, of course, obviously, if you were black, the punishment would be much worse. But yes, you're correct. Hence the name for the Underground Railroad. What people don't realize it, not that it was underground, but it was it was underground just from a secrecy standpoint.
Sure.
So people, and a lot of things that when you read some of the history about what they did and they didn't use names and things like that, because that was the point, one of the keys to success was not really using names or saying what the people's names were that were transporting you, and they would use aliases and things of that nature, because to your exact point, they didn't want to risk being discovered that they were helping people with this journey.
Well, let me ask this, and I don't know, is this the case? If you help me, do I pay you to help me? Did people pay him to help him, as in what he did as a conductor?
There were in all the historical documents we have, we read about John T. There was no mention of that people were paying him to do this.
When you say historical records, at your company, let's say at the headquarters, do y'all have a big picture of him? Do you all have documents of him, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have pictures. We have old articles. We have a lot of we have interviews from his descendants and family members who have recanted stories over the years.
Well, for a company to last as long as it had, his son, daughters, what have you, had to keep the name going. Is that how it happens in those regards?
Yes. So the company was owned and operated, by the family for 120 years until I purchased it in 2001. And then, and John, like I said, his son William S. and him started the company, and then in 1899, his son Edgar Earl Ward took over the company, and hence Edgar Earl used his two initials and changed it to E.E. Ward, Moving and Storage.
Because when it was first founded, what was it called?
It was the Ward Transfer Line.
The Ward Transfer Line. Yeah. Did Booker T. Washington know about him, and he was on that plane with those heavyweights? Do you know?
I'm not sure about that.
Was he a wealthy man?
There's no real, there's no anything to indicate that he was a wealthy man, but it was obviously the company was successful. He was able to provide for his family. Obviously, his children worked in the company, and they were all able to provide for their it was a thriving business. It was a thriving business for them as a family, a thriving family business.
Is the house that he lived in still standing?
No, it's not. No.
But it was in a decent neighborhood, a little bit more than
Yeah. At that time, again, at that time, he did live on the Near East Side, and it was, that was the nicer part of town.
Okay.
Obviously, every city that went through its growth and its sprawl and things of that nature, things changed over the years. But as I think in most cities, most of your urban centers were pretty populated. They were pretty robust. Obviously, we know that urban sprawl is what kind of put a hurting on a lot of the inner city architecture and establishments and culture and whatnot.
So when you talk about his family owned it for however many years, you just said 100 some years, how many generations? He like, for example, he owned it how many years before he passed? The son did it, the grandson, and then that's the 140 years, would you say?
120. No, they owned it for 120. His great great grandson Eldon, who was my godfather, he ran the company from 1945 to 1995. So Eldon ran the company for 50 years. He was pretty much the longest tenured ward to run the company.
Okay.
From a leadership standpoint.
And I guess to assume this, what was the biggest decade of growth for the company? I mean, when did it, explode, let's say? Is there a period right there where, like John T just did a little bit.
Right.
And because of the circumstances, he can only do a little bit. Then somebody else did a little bit more, and somebody else did a little bit more. Is that how it goes, I guess?
It is. And then obviously with modernization and with the modernization, when they were able to retire the horses in the 1920s and switch over to motorized vehicles, I mean, that was definitely a growth period for them, to be able to, go further, go longer, service, customers in a larger format with motorized vehicles.
Did they ever face a period where the company could have gone under and somebody saved it or something? Was there ever really a bad, like during the Depression or anything like that?
Well, see, that's one of the the great attributes of EE Ward Moving and Storage is that it's the oldest, and what's key is it's continuously operating Black business in the United States. So to your point, and we kind of use the slogan 1881 strong, but to your point, the company it persevered through the Depression, it persevered through World War I, World War II, and so that's really one of the biggest testaments of the company is that it didn't stop operation, even though the country as a whole was going through some very challenging times and whatnot.
So to be a business owner during that, you face racism, I'm sure. So was a lot of their clientele Black people that they did moving for, or did other ethnic groups hire and employ their services?
Well, they, ironically enough, a lot of customers were white, and there's several, there's been several stories from Eldon where, he talked about how they would be providing business services to a white family or moving them. And at the same time, there were people downtown Columbus protesting, for racial equality, and just how that was, just that paradigm of, you're working with, the people while, you're another group of people are protesting for better times, better equality, I should say equality, period. So no, Eldon does speak that a lot, that was real for them to have to work through those times of, of segregation, of civil rights movement, and things of that nature.
How about this? When they were moving some furniture across state lines, what did there was there a policy? We're not going to go down deep in the South because our truck drivers could face fear themselves. That's one question. Is there something to that?
Well, I can't really tell you. What I can tell you, I have gentlemen who've been with me, who've been with the company before I purchased it, and they're now. I have two gentlemen been here for almost 40 years, and then when I bought the company, there were some gentlemen who had been there for 30 plus years. So, and those gentlemen had, so if I had to go back and date their time of high activity, I mean, in the in the late 60s and 70s, I mean, they were transporting people all over the country because that's what those gentlemen were drivers. And I spent lots of time. I've spent time with them, and they tell me about all the different cities they've gone to and the place they went. So, I can't really speak to, I don't speak to what happened in the 40s and 50s, but I know the gentleman that I had interacted with from who I knew worked in the 60s and forward, they were pretty free moving about, moving people to where they needed to move to.
But I suspect that they themselves might have had to follow that green book or something like that to make sure that they were safe and have places that they could, for lodging and so on and so forth.
Sure, most definitely, yeah. They had to be careful.
Now, the first building of the company, is it still standing? Where is that compared to where you are today, where he first operated?
Yes, the building that they first owned and operated, it is still standing, as well as the second building. But they're small buildings, and they're in this downtown Columbus area. I mean, not that far from downtown on the Near East Side. Back then, people were, you might have 3 or 4 houses, and you might have an office, or business there. So, ironically enough, let's just say the neighborhoods grew up around where they had originally had locations.
Yeah.
So they're fine, and they're small offices, and we renovated the last one that we were in before we sold it, but they're small, but obviously they worked for the operation at that point in time, but they don't, we needed greater, much more facilities and much more resources than what they had.
Is there like with JT and some of the other older ones, were they a part of the civil rights fight in some regard? Like, did they take their trucks and put a big sign on the side of it announcing some civil rights slogan, or is there a moment like that?
No, there's no documentation of that. Nothing that we have seen that they were doing anything like that. Not to say they didn't, but just we don't have anything documenting that.
When JT had it, the first guy, how many employees might he had, and then when did the employees start coming on board? And in 1900, how many? Early 1900, how many employees? Do you have any idea of that?
Again, from the records that we have, in the 1880s and 1890s, they appeared to have about anywhere from 4 to 6 employees, and they grew exponentially through the 1900s. And then obviously, because at one point in time, we have records where they talk about how many horses and wagons they had, and then obviously how many trucks they had. So they were running a fleet of trucks of about when they got the motorized vehicles. They were running a fleet of about 5 to 6 trucks. So, they had grown in numbers to where they had about 10, 8 to 10 employees.
What in the trucking business, other than, I guess, being on time, and what are the tenements of good service? I mean, was that something that he said, I'm gonna be on time no matter what? We're gonna make sure your items are safe. I'm sure those are it, but are those like a model of the company that he might establish?
They pride themselves on quality service, being reliable. A phrase that Eldon Ward kind of lived by was do what's right, come what may. That, Eldon would always say that, and meaning that we're always going to do what's right, and come what may. Because obviously when you're in business, everyone might not agree with what the result is, but if you're doing what you determine as doing the right thing, typically that's going to end up and be favorable for all parties involved. But no, they definitely pride themselves in, again, like I mentioned, I mean, when they were handling Steinway pianos and unique items and antique and high value, that was really their specialty. So they definitely pride themselves on being able to do it with quality and, without breaking items and damaging items and care and concern.
Yeah.
I mean, we have pictures where they were hoisting, things up in the windows and things, just a lot of different things they were doing to move people's large and unique items when in an era where there were no elevators and things of that nature to facilitate.
Well, wait, you just alluded to something. When you say hoisting things up the window, as a movie company, he took it in and out of the house.
Yeah. They moved people from house to house. They delivered new furniture that people had purchased from a furniture store.
And then they took it inside the house too. So that's another part of the service. Understand me? I mean, you ain't just leaving it outside the door.
No,
right?
yeah, no, it's definitely full service. They were moving things in people's houses and setting things up, and getting leaving them with a house that's ready to be lived in.
Have you heard of another company, Black-owned company such as yours that is as old, or are there other Black-owned moving companies?
There's other Black-owned moving companies, not as old, but unfortunately there's a few. There's not as many as there should be. The transportation industry, it can be very, very challenging. And it's very heavy in resources and capital is needed. But there are some very successful other companies across the country. Like I said, I wish there were more of them, but the few that I do know of, they're very strong and they represent well.
What accolades did let's say Mr. Ward, JT, did he get accolades? Are there proclamations or something like that in his honor that you know of or that you've seen?
No, not really. I mean, a lot of the accolades and proclamations really, came about when Eldon took over. He really took the company to a new level in 1945, and Eldon became immensely involved with, humanitarian efforts and a lot of nonprofits. He was he was very instrumental in building the YMCA on the east side of Columbus, which was it was the Black community in the 50s and 60s, and Eldon, I have a picture where he's putting the shovel in the ground where they broke ground because at that time they only had a downtown YMCA, and it was hard for Black people to get there. So he lobbied, and him and other local Black leaders, were able to persuade the YMCA, and they helped raise the funding, and they built the YMCA on the east side, which still stands this day. And fortunately, and great honor, it's named the Eldon and Elsie Ward Family YMCA. So it's
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Does I'm sure they do. Since they were operating, does Black Enterprise know about you all? Has there been stories about the company in different publications and that kind of thing?
Yes, there have. Yeah, Black Enterprise, Essence, a lot CNN. I mean, there's been lots of.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah. Is there any historical marker of some sort in Columbus in his honor?
No, there's not. Nope, there's not.
But we would like to see that, I guess, or of some note. Would you like for there to be more recognition of him and of him in particular, and then maybe the company as a sideline?
Well, yeah, we would like that, and we're working on that ourselves. My wife and I, we both own the company, and actually, what we're doing is, we're going to first start out. We're publishing. It's in the works right now. We're writing a children's book that tells the story of John T. Ward in the early starts of the early foundations of the company, and we hope to have that out the beginning of next year.
Okay, I love
it. And because we know it's a phenomenal story of entrepreneurship, perseverance, but we know we have to help spread that story. We're not going to rely on other people to spread it.
Have you has there ever been a symposium of the oldest black-owned businesses, and or something that talks about the legacy? Because we talk about that so often, the legacies in our community. This is a legacy of the community. Are there others that you know of that are older black-owned businesses that you all get together and chew it up and talk about how it happened? Has that ever happened?
No, it's not. Haven't participated in those kind of conversations.
Yeah, because that would be something that would be great to have
of the
older ones come.
Yeah, together. Obviously I network with, through a lot of minority-owned businesses through certain, whether it's just diversity councils across the country or things of that nature, or chambers of commerce or Black chambers of commerce, so you network in that degree, but haven't been a part of one where it just specifically may say, companies that are 75 years and older, that kind of thing. So here's the thing. I don't get caught up on the history's great. Okay, it's great. It's wonderful. It brings a lot of. It tells about who we are and what the foundation is built on. But unfortunately, when you're knocking on the doors of corporate America, it doesn't really matter. That's the reality. It doesn't matter. Yeah. My company in the modern era, I've won every award that a white company has won, but I still don't get the business that the white companies get. So, the point is, it's very real and very true that you've got to be better than, and it's unfortunate, but because I know with the accolades my company has in the story, if it was white owned, I believe we'd be in a lot different position than what we are right
now. Would you talked about a children's book? Has there been a book written about the company or about him in particular of any note?
Nothing.
Does he have descendants? I know you are in some respect, but does he have great grandkids still alive or any of that type of thing?
No, and that was part of the reason for, when they sold the company to someone, theoretically outside the company. There were no really descendants. It was, and like Eldon and Elsie, they never had children. So, there just wasn't a succession plan of family members that were available, or either that desired to take on the responsibility.
Oh, I see. How big are you now? How many trucks do you have? If you don't mind telling us that kind of, I ain't saying revenue, but how many trucks do you have?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have the 3 locations. When we combine our tractor trailer trucks, like the one behind me in the picture, plus our box trucks, we're somewhere between 20 and 25 trucks
across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I say that the big guy has thousands of trucks.
Not as okay, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah. The big guy might have thousands.
But see, that's the funny thing about it. It's all about how do people, if they want to do business with you, they'll find a way. I could easily throw up all kinds of filters of why not to do business with someone, but it's better if they're true to it, if they appreciate quality, they're going to find out how you can do business. Because I don't care if I had 1,000 trucks. If I'm trying to get your business, or you have a certain move need, you only need one. Or if you're moving 50 employees, you don't need I could have 1,000, 10,000. It doesn't even matter.
I got you.
Can I fit the scope of work that you need service? That's what's important.
Yeah, I love it. Just a couple more. That logo, the arrow, is that the logo of the company?
No, that's actually North American Van Lines. We're a North American Van Lines agent. That's their logo.
Okay. Do y'all have a specific logo of some sort?
Sure. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and is there a question that I have not asked you? How about that? Something that you want to tell us?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I think this is love sharing our story with your audience. I think like I said, the biggest thing I would say is people should just cherish this story as, a story of entrepreneurial perseverance. That's how we look at it. Don't get caught up in all the every little detail. But the reality is that the longevity of the company and what they were able to work through, for 120 years, before they sold it. And you think about all the, monumental moments, positive and maybe not so positive, that the country went through. And the fact that they can, operate, that's, to me, that's the, the shining light of the story that we always sit back and reflect upon. And that it's I should say the word is inspirational and motivational.
Yeah. And so you help carry this on. You got the children's book that you all are working on, and would love someone to do a book about him, I suspect, and even a documentary and so on and so forth, if that was possible. What's the website? How can people, I mean, if I was living in the Columbus area, I could call you all up and have you, help me move. So what's,
Sure.
Let's pump the company right quick as we come to a close. What's the website, that kind of thing?
It's real simple. It's just eeward.com. That's, it's EEWARD.com. That's the website. Lots of information on there, many ways to get a hold of us. Again, we have physical locations in, like I said, Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Raleigh, North Carolina, but we move people all over the country, in and out of the Midwest, from the Southeast to the Southwest, so that's what we do on a daily basis. We also service local work for commercial clients, business clients, government clients. So we're full service in our offering. Yeah,
right on. Well, hey, thank you so very much. We'll put all that, the website and everything, and blast this, throughout, in particular, those three cities. Get you some more business, everybody. Okay. Let's do that. Let's stay tuned to him. I'll stay close when the book come out, and we can help promote that. And congratulations that you've done this. Were you in trucking before this, or just saw it as an opportunity, or man?
No, I was not in this. I was not in trucking prior to this, or in logistics. But I was in business, had several business ventures. Also had worked in corporate America, and just knowing the story, knowing Eldon as my godfather, and just what he stood for. Actually, to be honest with you, my mother said to me, you need to talk to him and see if it's something that you want to do, because we didn't, again, in business, as they always say, you don't want to put emotion in it, but when there was such a legacy and so much goodwill, you at least it inspired me to look at it and see if it would work out, and here we are 21 years later.
So you've been doing it 21 years.
Yeah,
man, that's beautiful. Hey, congratulations on that. Everybody, I told you you're gonna like this story. Man, I got are you on? Is that the title, right? The oldest Black-owned business in America?
Well, they continuously operating. That's the key.
Continuously operating.
Yeah.
All those years. So now we're talking about 1881 till 2022, which is how many years are we saying?
141.
141 years. Phenomenal. From transporting people on horse and buggy to semi-trucks as we do today, and first-class service. First-class service. They're good too. Everybody, you look at the reviews, they're good. So everybody, thank you very much for coming on the show. Everybody hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. I know you liked it. This is what we do. Hit the notifications bell, and tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Go to my website, businessintheblack.net. Go to his website and support their company. Support their company. EEWard.com. Do that today, my friends. And to you, my brother, I say this, and I mean this with all sincerity. I really do. I'm happy you came on. Thank you for taking time out. And I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing. And as you take it to the next level. Thank you so very much for being on with us.
Thank
All right,
you.
we out. All right, my man.